let's get back to the basics of what it actually means to be in love and what it actually means to date. I know that a lot of people like to say courting and I want to find my godly man, blah, blah, blah. But where is all that fluff when you guys realize you have nothing in common? Hey homegirls, welcome back to my channel. I'm back again. So in my pursuit to be grinding on YouTube yet again for the 1 millionth and 10th time, I realised I had no ideas and I didn't want to be boring and just think of like the same thing. So that's when I come to you guys and give you guys the wheel, the baton, the what? I asked you guys to come up with some questions or dilemmas that you have around the topic of girl talk. If you guys don't follow me on my Instagram, where are you? To be fair, where am I? I have not posted on the influenceHER page. If you don't know, I have a separate page to talk about my faith. Yeah, I haven't posted on there since like May. I'm like in like a weird place right now. Why is there a fly in my room? I'm in a weird place right now where like I just don't know what I'm doing with social media, but that's a story for another day and that's something I need to pray about. But all I know is that YouTube is my baby and I will always be on YouTube because it's just where I feel like I can be my truest self. There was a lot of dilemmas, questions, shenanigans, everything, which I'm very grateful for because it shows you guys actually keep up with me and you guys want to participate, so thank you. But I hope I can get through all of them. If I can, it will be a part 2. How to move on from a guy after a breakup from a Christian relationship. First of all, I want to say I've not experienced that, so I can give you as much advice as what I think I would do, but I don't actually know. And some of you guys may be thinking, what is the difference between a normal breakup and a Christian breakup? It doesn't mean much. However, if you have a relationship that aligns with your values and you felt like God was leading you in that and you guys break up, sorry fly, it can hurt a lot more. I don't know because I've not experienced it, but I do know that I love Naz more than any of my other relationships because we have that connection in values. But I have had breakups, well, massive breakup. If you don't know my testimony, I came to God over a breakup and that wasn't Christian, so I know that pain, you know, I know the pain. I know the pain. Oh, I didn't put the candle on. We're going to do that now. What was I even saying? Just acknowledge that like I'm hurt and I'm confused and I don't know what's going on. It's not saying that you wallow in that sadness, but recognizing that it was a relationship, recognizing that it was a relationship that you care about and it was a person that you cared about and it was something that you probably thought that God was in the mix of. It can be like quite confusing and you're just like, how? So I think addressing that is good because you don't want to suppress it and then it come back later and you end up being really angry with God. Remember that God has a will for you and that will may not have been him, and that is hard. I did not want to hear when I broke up with my ex that God had a plan for me. I didn't even really believe in God then. I was just like, get a grip, like my life is crumbling, I'm never going to find anyone to love again. I was just like, you know what, I'm going to be single forever, not going to have kids because I'll never love anyone quite as much as I loved him. He was my world. And now he barely even crosses my mind and I'm in love with another guy and I want to marry him instead. God still has a plan for you and this is not God punishing you. This is not, you know, I don't want you to feel like you've missed the mark or that God has taken him away from you because of something you've done wrong, or that you can't ever get things right and he was the one that got away, or you're not the mature Christian, you can't settle down, blah, blah, blah. And yes, you may along the way realize things that you could have done differently, but never will God hold something against you to the point where you won't get married, you won't find your true love, you won't have a Christian relationship that is surrounded with the love of God and the will of God. Ever. You are redeemed and you are set free, and if you go straight into it's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault, you won't ever allow God to swoop in and put his love on you and help you to trust him again. Self-doubt and, you know, technically mental self-harm is never going to help you move on. It is accountability and it is using that for the future, which is a good thing. Also, one big thing that just came into my mind that I've heard other people say, and it is so true, I think I might have said it myself, is that just because you're dating a Christian guy doesn't mean that he is your soulmate. I think because, you know, we want to get married, because we are trying to find, you know, a relationship that honors God, we jump at every Christian guy and just assume that he's going to be our husband. I've done it before, especially when I was on TikTok and there was loads of attractive guys on there. Any of them that showed me attention, I was like, God, you know, you can bring me him, because he's not going to make me lose my values. He's loves you, blah blah blah. Just because he's not going to make me lose my values and that he loves me and that he loves God does not mean he's my husband. Like, there are so many respectable men out there that I love as brothers, and I, you know, think they would be amazing husbands, but they ain't my husband, honey. They don't bond with me. They're just not in God's will for my life. Let's get back to the basics of what it actually means to be in love and what it actually means to date. I know that a lot of people like to say courting and I want to find my godly man, blah blah blah, but where is all that fluff when you guys realize you have nothing in common? Where is all that fluff when you realize that you have different parenting styles? Where is all that fluff when you literally realize you are incompatible and you have just been dating each other out of a pursuit of having a godly relationship and not actually thinking about the person who you're dating? Like, it's really important to remember that personality still matters when you're a Christian. Like, compatibility still matters when you're a Christian. Having a laugh with them still matters, you know. Going on dates and seeing if they're the type of person for you matters. I'm not saying you date 5 guys at a time. I'm not saying that you lose your morals. I'm not saying that you don't put their faith number one. But if they just have the faith and nothing else is ticking boxes, like, you're just following a religious ritual of, like, just marrying. Like, you're not actually falling in love. Like, that's still really important. Like, read Song of Songs, girl. A man is supposed to represent how Christ loved the church, and he cannot do that if you aren't his person. Like, I'm not saying that a man can't love you, but he will never be able to love you like he loves his wife. And that's just facts. But the next question is how to find yourself. I feel like my personality is influenced by the people around me. I'm not sure if I'm being myself. When you're like a teenager, young adult, it is really, really easy to be overly influenced by your friends. And I think I've felt it, especially in school. Like, you're surrounded by so many different people's opinions. You know, social media is flooding your brain all the time. You just feel like you can't ever build your own interests and, like, be who you really want to be. I think I discovered who I really was slowly but surely, probably when I started YouTube and I just was like shamelessly doing YouTube and I was like plugging myself into something that I was passionate about because everyone else thought it was cringy. I got so much hate for it. If I was like obsessed with other people's opinions, I wouldn't do it. Secondly, I think I really like truly discovered myself, and I'm continuing to truly discover myself because of that, is my faith. Like, when I came to Christ in lockdown was massive for me, and it was for a lot of people. Like, it gave that time to just get away from the craziness and like actually discover, right, who am I? I realized I didn't like being on my own because my thoughts went crazy and I had so much anxiety and I was so worried about other people thought of me. I was basically just a pick-me girl for my friends and to guys. Like, I just didn't necessarily hold my own opinion. And obviously we're not in lockdown now, and I get that, but that doesn't mean that we can't recreate that type of time and space for ourselves. And I don't mean that you should completely isolate yourself from your friends, but what sort of things do you do that feed into your friendship group and like you being the same as them? Maybe you dress the exact same as them, maybe you listen to the same music as them, maybe your social media reflects them and how you talk or how you take photos or whatever it is. I don't know, but the point is that you're only doing those things because you're consuming what they're doing. It is really important as people that we consume things for ourselves, give our own take on it, and then live according to, well, what we think, and most importantly, what God thinks about it. That's how you create your own personality, because it's there. It just needs to be brought out. Like, you need to take the time to consume the things that make you happy, to consume the things that make you feel like it's okay to be authentic. And why I said that this only came out during my understanding of God was that my Bible and my prayer time made me just want to serve him entirely. Like, the Bible says to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice to God. Me following the crowd is literally doing the exact opposite of that, because it's not following the design that God has created you to be, and you will only discover that through total communion with him and thinking on things, I've got it written here because I never remember the scripture, thinking on things that are true, noble, right and pure, lovely, admirable, excellent or praiseworthy. I just moved my lights around because I realised that photo wasn't in it and I felt like it added to the background. So I really do believe that time with God just makes you vulnerable and it strips away all the bull. Won't say the word for the Christians, but takes away all the rubbish, takes away all the, it just doesn't hold the same weight, does it? Like sometimes I do really think like swear words are a massive add to a vocabulary. I won't say them, try not to, but they add a lot. Like if I was to say that, that would be like, whoa, you're right. But if I say rubbish, it's like, I guess. Do you know what I mean? But anyways, conversations with Jesus later. I just turned 18. I sometimes feel stressed about moving into adulthood. Can I please have advice? Girl, first of all, I will say I'm 20 years old and I have literally just about tiptoed. I've like creaked open the door into adulthood. So for anyone older than me watching this, please don't think I'm giving like solid 30 years advice here. Like I literally just started paying bills, do you know what I mean? But I understand and I felt the same thing. Like when I turned 20, kid you not, I did not want to turn 20. Like this was the first birthday that I've not looked forward to, and that's not to say that I think I'm getting old. I just felt like, wow, loads of responsibilities, I'm leaving teenage life. What did I do with my teenage years? Like I always think about that song by Katy Perry, Teenage Dream. You make me feel like I'm living you know what I mean? And I always think about like what my life should be like. I should, you know, be having more fun. Like half of my late teenage years were spent in lockdown. I didn't really like enjoy all the things I thought I would. Like my life wasn't a movie. I didn't cherish the times where I didn't have to pay bills. I didn't have to work. I didn't cherish college. I didn't cherish just like being a kid, you know? And then like moving into adulthood, it was actually scary. And I know like this fly, I'm gonna kill you. I don't condone violence. I think, like, I realised I just gotta get on with it. And I don't mean that in, like, a suck it up way. But you don't ever go straight into adulthood. Unless you literally move straight out, don't even go to uni and just start a full-time job and live on your own and pay all your bills. Like, more likely than not, there's gonna be a smooth transition. Whether you go to university and obviously you're still under the cover of education, under the cover of student finance, yes, you are learning a bit about being an adult, living in your own uni accommodation, having to buy your own food, you know, like supplying for yourself and paying bills, like you're learning that, but you are still under a covering of some sort. Or you're like me, who was too uneducated to go to uni and stayed at home and got a full-time job, and I just, you know, contribute to monthly bills and I pay everything else for myself, really. But I'm still under my parents and I still get fed by my parents and I still get cuddles and I still live in my house, you know, like I've entered, but I've only tiptoed. Like I'm only like peeking my head around the corner like, hey. Eventually I'll move out and eventually I'll experience full-blown adulthood without the crutch of my parents. But if you're worried entering it, you still got time, baby girl. At 18, you're still, you know, like I'm still very much living a soft life. You're a young adult. You're not fully an adult with kids and, you know, like divorces and stuff, you know. I never would have thought that I would be able to handle life as I am now. Like if I told myself at 18, yeah, in 2 years you're gonna have a full-time job and you're gonna be paying for everything yourself and you're also like looking to get married and all this, like I would be like, girl, like I literally can't even make my bed. You just learn eventually and you'll be fine, I promise. Someone said good hygiene tips. Shower at least once a day, clean every area with soap. I guess use deodorant. I like to use roll-on then spray. It might be terrible for my pores, but I find it makes me sweat less. Just don't be dirty, really. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. But I know that hygiene is up to debate in some people. Like some people think that you don't need to shower until you feel dirty. I had someone say that to me once and that lives in my head rent free because you don't wait till you feel dirty, you shower before you feel dirty. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's controversial. Personally, I like to smell nice. How to be consistent with God, because life had just been hitting me hard. P.S. Love your vids. Love you. One thing I always say to people, and I say to myself when I'm not consistent, is that God isn't a part of your life, God is your life. When I hear myself say that, I'm like, girl, snap right back into it. Spending time with him is very important, and making that time is very important. But I understand life gets cray cray. I discovered more of this when I was going through hard times in my job. Not only was I really busy with work, I was also like mentally drained from work, and it just wiped me out. I was knackered all the time. I went through like a stage where I just really wasn't reading my Bible pretty much at all, and it was sad because I felt it affect my life. Like, it made it harder to deal with trials and like just stay positive. So what I started to do, like, I don't know if this is necessarily like the most inspirational, but sometimes you need, like, Mr. Hot Stepper wants to be your friend on Snapchat. Tap to add them back and get a chat started. Who are you, Mr. Hot Stepper? No. Clear. I would read a devotional on the bus. I would listen to worship music all the time, like cut out secular music for a little bit, and like, to be honest, cut out secular music as much as possible. Try not to listen to songs that like just go against God. I also would pray in the morning, like when I open my eyes. I mean, I still do that. Just thank God, like be grateful. It's a relationship, and just try to be intentional to talk to him and keep him updated with your life. I also started praying when I went to the toilet. I still do that now. Like, I'll just say a little prayer. Like, if I'm thinking about anything, if I'm worried, like, you know, just talk to God. And or even if you're happy, just thank God. If you can, and it's possible, to dim your schedule a slight bit. Like, if you have loads of commitment and it is taking away from your one-to-one time with God, you are going to have to rethink it. Now, if you're going to school, go to school. Don't skip work. Every now and then be like, you know what, this evening is for me and Jesus. How do I deal with someone having a crush on me? You could ignore it. I'm not good at that stuff because that's probably quite mean. But like, if it's someone that probably isn't talking to you and you don't feel very like obliged to be like, hey, I don't like you, just don't entertain it. I think the worst thing you can do if someone has a crush on you is to like make it obvious that you know, or flirt back for fun. Like, maybe that's just me being a complete demon in college, but I would do that. Like, when I knew a boy liked me and I didn't like him back, I would make it quite obvious that I knew, and like sometimes I would like kind of entertain it. Not because I wanted to like let him down, but because I, you know, everyone likes having the attention. I just don't want it from you, but I kind of like it, but like I don't want you. Do you know what I mean? That is literally evil, so don't do that. Someone said approaching dating in uni when you have never dated before. First of all, don't go into uni thinking that you need to date. Don't go into uni with the expectation of, I'm going to find a man here. What you are going to find is a degree. Okay? You're not finding the love of your life. You're not paying 9k a year, is it now, to find a boyfriend. Even though that would probably have been the reason why I went to uni if I did go. But it's not healthy and it's distracting. I don't know, like, I don't know if there's ever like a dating 101 apart from be yourself and don't chase men. Like, whatever's for you will come around. If you like someone, pray about it. Go on dates with them, get to know them, think about it, ask God if that's what you want, and go from there. Like, discern, and get to know, and be yourself. That's all I will say. Someone said, for black girls, approaching being in a black girl group when being surrounded by white people your whole life. I feel like I can slightly relate to this. Like, I have obviously a black family, but I went to very white schools, and actually I passed up going to a school that's right by my house because it's a very black school, because I didn't know how to like be friends with them, and I was kind of worried like if I'd fit in. I came from a private school, I talk quite posh, and I was just like, I'm gonna get mocked, so I went to a white girl school. I don't know, like, I then obviously made a lot of friends that were black, went to a very ethnically diverse college. That made me sound very intellectual. Now pretty much all my friends and people that I know are black, but I also do have so white friends. But I don't know, like, I think get over the fact that you need to be a certain way. Like, I think that was what I was worried about. Like, am I ghetto enough? Like, am I cool enough? Is my lip gloss cool? Is my lip gloss popping? Especially with me being mixed race and like light skin, very white. Like, literally I have fake tan on right now. Don't talk about it. This without a tan is not fun. Like, look at my, don't actually look at my old YouTube, because if you go to like times where it's like April and the sun hasn't started to hit yet, girl, I am pale as snow. Especially with me not being fully black, you know, I don't want to be seen as a white girl, I don't want to be seen as super improper, but I'm over it now. Like, I've adopted a lot of black culture, like, over the years, like from about like the age of 14, I started getting more embedded in it and like realising who I am, and that a big part of that was my culture. But I am still white, half white. Like, you know, obviously I know you're not, you're black, but point is, how you act is how you act, and if it's seen as stereotypically more white, it's seen as stereotypically more white. Like, just be yourself. Don't try and please people. Like, if they're going to be your friend, they're going to be your friend regardless of how you talk, regardless of the language you have, regardless of the slang you understand and don't understand. Like, don't try and fit in and change yourself for the sake of friends. I mean, I have a very Brazilian accent, and all of my London friends think I'm a farmer. They think that I literally have a dad that drives a tractor and a mum that milks cows. I realise I'm going to have to leave it there because I didn't even fully answer the questions on Instagram, and I still am yet to go through YouTube. So this is going to have to be a part 2, but I'm fine with that. Don't worry if a question hasn't gotten answered, I will answer it. I just don't want this video to be 2 hours long, so I'll leave it there. But I love you guys. Thank you for all of these, and I really hope that if your question was answered, that it was helpful in some way. Love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!